I'd much rather
longer than 250 words.
Oh no,
You're doing the 5 songs.
I'm not a certain individual who writes the bare minimum. Like, I have that extra chance to send it.
And it wasn't like we didn't do everything.
Like, you gotta remember, I won't just
They were like,
my arm.
no.
I am not the bare minimum.
I will warn you if I do.
I was like hearing you and then
I'm gonna take this out. I didn't know like easy at tired. Watch it up.
Yeah.
I know.
Would it be cool if we went to pretty calls of school?
Yeah, it depends on when we get finished. I think we will.
If we get early enough, we'll be done.
I'll do that.
I'm
Okay.
literally just gonna say the background info. Are you fine with that?
Yep, I.
I finally got all this tech stuff mastered. I think I might run for parliamentarian.
Oh.
Do
I don't
it.
think you want that.
You'd probably be good at that. You would have to actually focus on making sure that's fine though. Okay. You haven't stepped up and vice versa. Oh.
Well, because she's still getting paid for her job, so
So you're making research.
you know what
That's not very good,
she
yeah.
volunteers to do it with a little coercion.
You can work her.
A little coercion, but she volunteers to.
That's not very GDI.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
yeah, no, so like a rough draft right now. I think I said
Ellie.
yes, I know. I said like 3 weeks ago.
What?
So I should resend it.
My bad.
No, you're good. No, I sent a lot of emails. So.
That's how I get paid. Oh, why is that? Then?
Sorry about it.
Okay.
Wait, Megan.
Okay.
Maybe. I was like,
No rush.
Wow.
hello, for
How's it going? Huh? I'm always casual.
This man is a volunteer firefighter. He just got back from the station.
I've seen
Put
that
some respect
happen
on his
before.
name. I'm sorry. I support firefighters. No,
Hey, look.
other first responders.
It's the joke is I'm a junior.
That was so sad to watch you look through your blanket. You were like, oh.
Can you read the hat?
So,
Barely, but like.
It says junior.
she didn't contact me.
Really?
No.
Yeah, no, she's not here. She's not back.
Actually, that one is up there.
I don't know if you want the job. From what I heard.
Yeah, no.
Like that.
I agree.
So, I mean, it's up to you.
You don't be quiet. Literally, the chairs moved around. So this was my seat until 2 chairs were out of line. Yeah, later.
Oh, yeah?
Because you moved my seat. I didn't move any.
Like
You
me.
added a front row. I
10
want
minutes.
to. Do it. Then go. No, I can do it today. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't see Kevin in the audience. Ariadne said she was gonna mention Kevin.
No, you weren't.
So I'm sure they spoke. Well, huh?
Get that pay increase, boy.
Get the old recruitment and retention officer to take another thing.
Oh, yeah.
There's not enough chairs to sit. Okay, I'm going back to the start.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to do it.
No. You're not gonna pay. You've been doing it. No, already. She doesn't deserve your work.
Thanks for Ross for In the voice of reason, I guess.
Like it doesn't hurt this body.
Oh, the mic.
That's not the point. She's missed out on her first one.
Well, she's
I was supposed to do that, and then I never did it, so I'm catching up on that.
Technically, I should have a less.
Like, you know you have my friend, but you have the power to
That takes less than-
Union required, at least I have.
well, what'll happen is I'll bring it up in front of legislative cabinet, so it's not solely on me.
I know, we all know.
But she's getting the boot.
Oh,
Oh,
damn, what, huh?
Don't worry about it.
Talking about, I know, I was here. I got good ears.
We'll start in like 2 shakes, folks.
oh, touche.
Shakes of a stick?
Now you can argue what a shake is.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. What? Oh, sorry.
That would be.
Oh, what am I doing?
You know what that means?
Nora, I love you. I love the little necklace. It's very cute. Nora,
Yeah.
I love the
I
chain.
carefully, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Brother.
I told you to stay out.
Microphone. No microphone. No microphone.
No
No
microphone.
microphone.
Hee-hee. I know. I'm waiting.
I can agree to that.
She didn't necessarily.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I know. No, it kind of is like.
Thank you so much.
Well,
The microphone.
yeah, thanks. Well, I guess we'll just start. Thank you.
Sorry for the delay, folks. We're looking for the handheld microphone, so that'll be slightly delayed. But it's my honor and privilege to call the 18th session of the 52nd Senate to order. Today is February 8th, 2023. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand and join me if you're willing and able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now move into the CSU Land Acknowledgement. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is their traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This is also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other Native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly, our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. We'll now swear in new senators and associate senators. So if that applies to you, please come to the front and receive the oath of office. Just go ahead and speak on the mic.
I state your name,
I, Cole Johnson,
do solemnly swear to defend and uphold
do solemnly swear to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations set forth by the Constitution
the rules and regulations set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
of the Associated, I'm sorry, repeat that one more time.
of course, of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
Of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and to rightfully perform the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
and to rightfully perform the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
We'll now move into beginning roll call. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senator Aludali.
Here.
Chair Aslan. Here. Senator Ake. Here. Senator Ayala. Here. Associate Barbone. Here. Associate Barron. Associate Barton.
Present.
Associate Bernard. Absubukari. I'm sorry, Senator Bouchara. Here. Speaker Pro Tempore Caracero Perez. Here. Associate Chacon.
Here.
Senator Cordell. Speaker DeSalvo.
Here.
Senator Dietz.
Here.
Senator Denton. Senator Doyle.
Here.
Senator Godshaw.
Here.
Senator Hill.
I'm present.
Associate Hubley. Associate Jacobs. Senator Johnson.
Here.
Associate Kelly. Senator Kelly. Senator Kilburn.
Here.
Associate Kimberly.
Here.
Senator Kramer.
Here.
Associate Lackey. Senator Lackey. Present. Senator Lowe.
Here.
Senator Lutz.
Here.
Senator McCall. Senator Melchior.
Here.
Senator Malka.
Here.
Senator Morgan. Here. Senator Nyande. Senator Pariso. Here. Senator Lee.
Here.
Chair Ritter. Here. Chair Salazar.
Here.
Senator Sanchez.
Here.
Associate Saunders. Senator Schmidt.
Here.
Chair Schumer. Present. Senator Shetty.
Yep.
Senator Sodi.
Present.
Parliamentary. Parliamentarian Sinarika. Senator Taylor.
Here.
Associate Torres Foxy.
Present.
Chair Trout.
Present.
Senator Winston.
Here.
Senator Wright. Present. Associate Kirk.
Here.
Senator Reed. Senator Levy. Here. Associate Senator Scott Perez. Senator Reed is here. Reed, as I read, yes. This is the second roll call I've missed. Okay. Associate Barrett. Senator Arango Silva.
Here.
Associate Ford. Associate Manati.
Here.
Associate Val Rougeau. Associate Shaw.
Is there anyone that was missed from that roll call? No? All right, with that, we'll move into consent agenda. Is there any dissent? Yes, Chair Trout.
I'd like to make a motion to add Lex 5205, amending a gap in the Constitution to old business.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of adding Lex 5205 to old business, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions? This passes unanimously. The parliamentarian will reflect that change. Is there anything else? With that change reflected, we'll move on to gallery input. So give me a sec so I can hand over the mic.
Thank you. Would you mind passing this card down for me? Hi, everyone. How are you doing this evening? I was going to say afternoon, but it's not evening. Good. I got a laugh at least. My name is Mari, and I'm here visiting from Washington, D.C., and I've been running all around campus today to tell CSU students about the CSU in D.C. program. How many of you have heard of this program before? How many of you have heard about it from me? It's my 4th year working here, so by now I would hope so. For those of you that haven't, I'm going to give a brief overview of the program and keep it to 5 minutes. The program is offered every summer and semester, and the goal of it is to help you take everything you're learning here on campus and put it to practice in Washington, D.C. I love coming to speak with ASCSU students because obviously you all are involved and a really good fit for this program. When you participate in it, there are 3 main things you're doing. The first is an internship. We partner with hundreds of different internship sites. So whether you are studying political science, environmental studies, business, we'll work with you to get to know what you're studying, what you're interested in, and then based on that, help you to apply to a variety of different internship sites. Whether you are interested in working on the Hill and taking this experience that you have here and working maybe with a Colorado representative or with a think tank, nonprofit, for-profit, we'll find something that's exciting for you. Along with that, you take 2 classes. One is an academic course. Our courses are topic-based, things like the death penalty, international business, international human rights, etc. We have about 15 options a semester. And you're taking those not just with CSU students, but with students from all around the world. So a really cool opportunity there. And then the second course you take is called Career Readiness. This course is a little bit different in that it teaches you professional skills, things like how to negotiate a salary, how to network, what are your professional strengths? Not something people talk about a lot, but I'm a huge advocate of learning what your strengths are and finding a career that will pull those out. And then along with that, you get to come to DC for either 2 months in the summer or 3 months in the semester. We actually own a housing building there, so you'll be living in our 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, fully furnished apartments. They're quad style and the building is ADA compliant. So we can work with students regardless of accessibility needs, also regardless of citizenship status. So definitely a program I want you all to consider. If you come in this semester, you get 15 CSU credits. If you come in the summer, you get 10, and you're paying your same CSU tuition for those credits. So any financial aid, scholarships you have will apply to this program. The one cost difference to consider is housing, which we can talk about more in terms of scholarships that are available and such. I know you have a long meeting to get back to, so I didn't pass around. Your colleague here helped me pass around some cards. On the back of those is a QR code. If you scan them, you can tell my colleague Lexi a little bit more about yourself. She's the admissions counselor for this program, so a really good person to stay in touch with, even if you're considering coming next year or the year after. Today is actually the deadline if you wanted to come this summer. Sam, who works in the Strayer Center, is nice. So if you're like, oh man, I really want to do it, we can be a little bit flexible by a few days, but you need to write to Lexi like today if you're interested in the summer. Otherwise, we are currently accepting applications for the fall and we'll open next year's applications this summer. Any quick questions before we continue, or you all continue with your agenda? No, we'll definitely sign up to talk with Lexi. Stop by the Strayer Center to talk with Sam. And like I said, we would really love you all to apply because I think you have a really skill set that's a great fit. So thank you. I appreciate it. I've been doing this since 8 a.m. So hopefully it was still riveting.
Is there anyone else from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our guest speakers with the Interfaith Council, exploring that, I believe, what the presentation is about. Yeah. If you could, yeah, on your way. Just tell Rico.
Yeah. It's gonna be an annoying amount. I can give you the keyboard while you're talking. That might be easier, just so I don't have to work so hard. Do we need to speak into the mic?
Yeah, you could either use the handheld or that one. It's up to you.
Do I see? No, I don't want you to see. No, that's okay. Let me just make sure.
Do you want to use that microphone and use this one, or do you want to?
Sure.
No.
Yeah. Okay. And because I teach public speaking, I'll bring my own timer up here, but please keep us on time too. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come chat with you a bit about an initiative that Jody and I are excited to be a part of and have been a part of for the past year. So we're bringing some ideas your way, and we'd love to hear your feedback. We're going to give a kind of a short presentation on this initiative that will last about 20-ish minutes. There is a survey that we will encourage you to take to give feedback, but we'd also just like to open it up to questions at the end of this too. Okay, so my name's Elizabeth Sink. We'll introduce ourselves in just a second with some more information about other folks that are working on this as well. But just as a brief overview, CSU is exploring the idea of paying more attention to religious, spiritual, and secular identities on campus as far as programming, extracurricular, policy making, and potentially having some staff folks paying greater attention to that for the educational benefit of our community. So we're here to share some information on that, and as I mentioned, get some feedback on that. Now, if this idea makes your heart beat a little bit faster, talking about religion and a secular campus, you're not alone. There is a wall of separation that has been for a long time around these issues of identity. However, the society, the times we live in right now, we feel are really kind of making it apparent that a public university is a place to be talking about these things for a lot of reasons. So we'll go through some of those tonight.
Hello, my name is Jody Donovan. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I serve as an Associate Vice President for Student Affairs, and I love ASCSU. So thank you for the time that you commit to this. As Elizabeth said, we've been working on this for a little over a year. We have a task force, a work group that was charged by both Dr. Blanche Hughes and Dr. Colleen Cipriani to explore this possibility. And again, it's a possibility based on student feedback and some decision-making by the university leaders. So we've got folks like Raya Vigil representing the Office of Inclusive Excellence, as well as Elizabeth, who is a faculty member here on campus, and then some other student affairs folks, Vivian Ethanson App from CSU Health Network, focused on well-being initiatives, and then John Henderson, who serves as Associate Dean of Students.
Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of teaching of some concepts here so we can get on the same page, because sometimes when we're talking about things like religious identity and spirituality, we're like, what are we talking about? What does that even mean? They can be really slippery terms. So allow me a second to offer a few of those real briefly. And when we're talking about these as an identity area, oftentimes these are referred to as RSS identities, religious, spiritual, and secular identities. So to offer some brief definitions here, and I'm taking these from a scholar friend of mine at The Ohio State University, and there's lots of different definitions we could offer, but I'll step on these. So spirituality, thoughts and actions that help people develop greater understanding, meaning and purpose about themselves and their lives and their relationship with themselves, others, the natural world, and something bigger than themselves. And this phrase, something bigger than themselves, can mean a belief in a higher power or supernatural deity. It also could mean a social justice cause, something that is bigger than one person or takes more than one lifetime to achieve. So this is a fairly inclusive term. Religion, narrowing that down specifically to a community which adheres to a specific set of beliefs, practices focused on the belief and worship of a supernatural deity. And then at the other end of that spectrum, secular, which would be a way to describe this university in many ways, not having a religious basis at all. So these are the identity sets that we've been looking at. We've been talking to lots of other universities, doing some benchmarking, specifically Penn State, University of Michigan, and Virginia Tech, that are the movers and shakers that are doing a lot of work in this area. They're also public institutions, and 2 out of 3 of them land grants. So they match us in many ways, and we're taking some cues and some directions from them. Okay, a few other concepts real quickly. We're looking at situating and having conversations of situating RSS identities in this framework of power and privilege, first of all, to acknowledge right away that lots of harm has been done and continues to be done in the name of religion and belief. So it's important to note that this is not a neutral thing that we're entering. It's never neutral to be looking at religion and spirituality and different beliefs, and to say that that's neutral is just silly. So we acknowledge that there is a majority belief system in this country. Generally, right now, 65% of US Americans identify as some form of Christian. And then we have minority belief systems that bring up the rest. And a large growing category that I'll talk about in just a moment, it's kind of a miscellaneous category that we call unaffiliated or none, that incorporates a lot of what we oftentimes call unaffiliated or non-religious folks. So we acknowledge that this is within a framework of majority, minority, of privilege and lack of privilege, and acknowledging that that resources need to be provided for folks to heal from harm and trauma that's been caused in the name of belief systems too. Here's that group that I was mentioning before, unaffiliated or nuns, not like Catholic nuns, N-U-N-S, but N-O-E-N, N-O-N-E, excuse me, agnostic, atheist, SBNR. Anybody heard of SBNR before? Spiritual but not religious. Nothing in particular, humanist. So this is a miscellaneous category. And I'll show you an infographic in just a second, but this is the fastest growing belief demographic in America right now, especially among younger people. And then a few other terms that we have learned when we're looking at this set of identities here. Interfaith or multi-faith is really just the interaction of people of different beliefs, although faith can be a really tricky term for some folks too. Belief, we find our peer institutions are using because it can be a little bit more inclusive and include agnostic and atheist, right? We bring beliefs to the table, and they don't just have to be religious beliefs there. Worldview is oftentimes used, and then that SSR or RSS or whichever way you're doing that acronym. And then another one I'll put up here is the idea of pluralism, which is not new to you all sitting here in this democratic platform. Pluralism being the active engagement of, not just the mere tolerance of, but engagement between belief systems. So just a few terms to offer there that are going within this, this initiative here. Okay, so a few infographics, perhaps you've seen these before, but just to set the pace of who shows up and why we might want to be talking about these interactions a little bit more. So perhaps you've seen this, if the US American culture was narrowed down or put in a ratio of 100 people, this is how they would be divided up.
Sorry, 1 second, interrupt you. Point of privilege, this is not the same slideshow that we got, because this slide is not on the agreement.
You know, I think it's just another one is covering it, and maybe the transition hasn't occurred yet, because I'll advance it and this one comes up. So I'm wondering if it's just covering enough.
It is in the weekly email. You just have to watch it from a slideshow. It is covered up.
Sorry for that confusion. So we find that this is, and this is a little bit dated. This is from 2014, but this is showing the kind of the ratios and the breakdown of our belief demographics. And down here at the bottom is this unaffiliated group, as you can see. And this is what we see showing up on our campus generally as well as in US society. This infographic shows some trends changing, specifically 2007 to 2014. Take a look. So we can say generally Christian denominations and demographics are in decline. The unaffiliated, a dramatic rise, and most other minoritized belief systems rising as well. I'll share another demographic that gives predictions based on this here. So 50 years ago, 90% of US Americans identified as some type of Christian. And if we continue in the current trends that we're in, we will, by 2045, be what's called a majority minority belief nation, belief diversity. So we won't have the majority that we've had for the past couple hundred years. So why is this important? It's important in a lot of ways because we are the most religiously diverse industrialized nation in the world. We do have a ton of diversity in the room. We also have a ton of diversity in the world. We are globally the most religiously diverse. So we have potential for a lot of that pluralism going on. However, as you know, we live in a very polarized time right now. And so there are actually more deaths now due to religious conflict than there have been since the Crusades. And our CSU bias assessment team if you look at the data for the past 7 years, shows anywhere between 13 and 30% of our incidents of bias are religiously motivated, unfortunately. I want to point out that this is something that doesn't just shake our student population. So we have showing up on our employee campus climate temperature taking devices that if we have discrimination going on, it's generally happening. Oh, I'm sorry. It's generally happening to not only the student body, but it's happening to our staff and faculty as well. We find that the more minoritized the demographic, generally, the more incidents of bias, particularly religiously motivated ones that we see happening. So it's something that happens all across our campus. I think I might be stuck. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, another element to this is we're finding that in many conversations, and we'll talk about those in just a second, we're finding that CSU students do want to be talking about belief diversity. And so here's one measurement that was taken a few years ago. This is a longitudinal study that was done that followed CSU students as well as students from 122 other institutions across the nation. That showed that we want to be talking more about this. So when given this poll and CSU students that responded, take a look at this statement here. And I'm interested to see what y'all think about this too. So consistently over this 4-year mark, 85% of CSU students polled said that they agreed with this. Appreciating and engaging with religious, spiritual, secular diversity is as important to them as other forms of diversity. And that's one reason that Jody and I have spent time on this task force is this is coming up not only just at CSU, but lots of other institutions around the nation where we're finding that religious, spiritual, secular belief, diversity, and identity conversations are often sidelined to very important other conversations around identity, diversity, but we're wondering if this is the time where we start to include this one. Because if you think about it, folks, to many people, their religion, their beliefs, they really influence how they vote and what they wear and what they eat and who they hang out with and who they don't, right? And so it seems in some way very odd that we are not talking about that form of diversity. Okay, I'm going to hand things over to Jody to talk about things from a more administrative end.
That's me, the administrator. Thank you, Elizabeth. You know, when I think about talking about this, identity and purpose and meaning is what Colorado State is all about, right? We want to help students and all of us understand all of who we are. That's what being an educational institution is all about. And for many folks, their belief system is a culture unto itself. And so why do this at CSU? We know that a sense of belonging is significant on a college campus for student success. For students to be able to feel like they belong here, they need to know that there's a place for them, that they can find their community here at Colorado State. If we're not talking about this important part of that identity, students may feel like this is not a place for them, right? We talk about First Amendment and freedom of speech. This is an area that we're not talking about, right? That we want to engage in an open dialogue about people's beliefs and be able to do that from a place of understanding, a place of respect, and a place of openness. A big part of Colorado State University is understanding and putting forth social justice initiatives. This is an area that we believe needs some more work on this campus. We need to also not just open the floodgates around these conversations without any kind of guardrails, any kind of an infrastructure, because that's where harm happens. We see that happening out on the plaza when there isn't an ability to put some guidelines and some structure. And so the possibility, what happens out on the plaza will continue to happen, but how do we have more fruitful conversations where people are able to listen and be heard? And that's something that Colorado State can do if we invest in this program or this initiative. Anything else you would like to add, Elizabeth?
No, that I can.
Okay, so we have been benchmarking a bunch of different universities, as Elizabeth has been saying. We've been talking to lots of students. We have a survey that will share the QR code, and if you haven't already taken it, we want you to take it. And what's coming up, what's bubbling up, is a number of different focus areas. If we were to do this, students, staff, faculty, our interfaith partners in the community are all saying, hey, these would be some cool things to do. So one would be paying greater attention to religious, spiritual, and secular belief diversity. So being able to do that, whether it's in the classroom, co-curricularly, holding solicitation-free, no preaching spaces where students can explore their own belief identities. So knowing that you can go to a place, you can go to a program where the idea is not to convert somebody or to tell someone that what they believe is wrong, but it's a place where you can go and learn more about all the different possibilities of beliefs. You can dig in more about what you were raised with, question, you can go and you can heal from some of the things that may have happened to you. So this would be a space that is a more supportive space. Facilitation of cooperative engagement across differences. So as I said before, we wouldn't just open this up and not have any kind of guidance, guardrails, as if you wish. But if we had programs to learn about different belief systems, we might have trained facilitators there that could set up guidelines and ground rules and to help move the conversations forward rather than have people talking over one another.
We obviously can't explain everything that we want to explain right now, but if anybody is.
Can you please talk into the mic for
Oh, I'm
accessibility?
sorry.
It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. I appreciate it. And thank you for turning that on. If anybody wants to chat more about it, I had the pleasure of talking to a lot of other benchmark institutions who have some really great program ideas, and I'd love to share what some of those are if folks are interested in further conversation there.
Increasing educational opportunities to learn more about various beliefs and traditions, particularly the non-majority beliefs and traditions. And this is through our survey, as we're analyzing our data, this is number one, not just educating, but also celebrating different belief traditions. And so, whether it's Passover, Ask an Atheist Day, other types of possibilities to learn more about and to celebrate. Other possibilities, improving and expanding the amount of reflection and prayer spaces on campus. We've made some progress, and at the same time, we very much fall short. We've got spaces across the university. Most of those are single, one-person spaces that can be used for all different things. We've now advanced, and the library now has a group reflection room because folks want to be able to worship in their tradition in a group. And so, yeah, we're slowly moving that forward, but if we had dedicated folks focusing on that, that could be something that we could do. Other things, creating an easy way for students to plug into a belief community. As I said before, our data is talking about folks with non-majority belief systems feel a great sense of disconnect, a lack of belongingness, because it's hard to identify with what you are not. It's hard to find people who are not the majority. And so this might be a way to be able to connect with that community. And establishing a vetted multi-faith and belief leaders network that can support groups or individuals in times of crisis. Whether that's a student death, a national tragedy, we want to be able to reach out to our colleagues in our community. And we want to make sure that if we bring someone from the community to support our CSU students, that these folks have been vetted. And improving relationship and collaboration. We have the multi-faith council. We get together with our partners across the community, but we need to do more to be able to bring them closer and to be able to understand what they're doing with our students and how we can work collaboratively.
So those are the focuses that have arisen from the survey that we've put out. So with the rest of our time, I want to do two things. One of them is to put the QR code with the survey up there, and this is an anonymous survey. And there's also an opportunity at the end of it to give your email if you're interested to learn more information or stay up to speed on this. And then we'd also just like to open some space up for folks to offer their thoughts and feedback. That's really what we're here to do, is to listen, so we can, if we do move forward this initiative, help craft this into something that you all would want to be invested in.
And again, we seek critical feedback. So if you think that this is bogus and a bad idea, we want to hear that, and we want to hear why. If you think that it could be shaped differently, we want to hear that. If you're in support of this, we want to hear that.
Also, just so you know, we're using words like space and program because it's really just an idea at this point in time. So we're interested to see what you all think about potential ideas of spaces and programs and things like that too. So here is a QR code to the survey that you're welcome to take. Again, it's anonymous, but we also want to leave space right now for questions, comments, concerns, hesitations, anything like that.
Okay, so Chair Trout, Chair Aslan, Senator AP, Associate Kimberling. Yeah, I saw. And then Chair Schubert. All right, Chair Trout.
Thank you all for coming here tonight. I just wanted to ask, with the data regarding the belief landscape in the United States, that's roughly a decade old, has there been any new data that has come out with that within the last couple of years? It's like, depending on who you look at, 2 years is out of date, 5 years is out of date. So has there been any up-to-date information on that?
Yeah, those big studies that the Pew Research puts out are generally fairly dated. The last infographic that I shared that was more predictive and that showed the trends are a little bit more accurate. What we find is the information coming out right now is more focusing on those shifting demographics than it is measuring. But we can find updated information with US Census. It's just not as tied specifically to these demographics. Yeah, good question.
And we don't collect that information here at Colorado State University, so we don't have that unless when you participate in the climate survey, you self-identify and you choose to self-identify with that survey.
That's all I have for right now. I yield.
Thank you, Chair Aslan.
Sorry, my mic was on. I have a couple of questions. Number one, a lot of your data focused heavily on the United States. CSU accepts students from all over the world, not just the United States. And data from all over the world shows that while Christianity is still the predominant religion, Islam is one of the fastest growing and the second most common, with other religions following right behind it. Now I ask why this presentation focused very heavily on Christianity and unaffiliated, specifically in the United States, when this campus is geared towards and preaches diversity and accepts students from all over the world.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on with what's bubbling up from what we're hearing from that survey is that people are wanting to know primarily, undergraduate and graduate students are saying, we want to be educated about different beliefs and we want to celebrate those differences. You're right that this information is heavily focused on US American global trends. You covered that information pretty well. Actually, the third or fourth, I don't remember exactly, fastest growing globally is that unaffiliated group as well, right behind Islam. So to answer your question, I just want to reiterate that you are indicating what is bubbling up through the survey that students do want to receive more education, specifically about minoritized belief systems, minoritized as in the framework of US American culture, but not within global culture.
And secondly, do you believe it is effective to label religions as minoritized when they are highly common in the world outside of the United States? Because that does misinform a large amount of Americans about what religions actually are and about the basis that they have within the world.
Good statement. Yeah, it just depends on the framework that you're looking at. So minoritized within our region of the country, definitely, but not globally. So I think that education is calling for that, and also keeping that framework of majority minority allows that conversation around power and privilege, which is so important to be included in that. So yeah.
And lastly, if you do provide this space where people can learn and more than just a reflection room for prayer, how will you be able to make sure that people coming in there do not create harm or do not enter with an intent to do something different, but an impact that causes harm to your students?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we want to be able to staff this program in a way that we would be able to do that and respond immediately. As we develop a community within this program and that space, we'll be able to hold each other accountable as well as proactively declare what this is about and let people know what the ground rules are for this program. Yeah.
Good question. I'll just say one more thing. As that question constantly comes up when we're talking with peer institutions. How do they deal with that too? With being on a secular institution, we need and want to have freedom of speech spaces. But it's also, we can do both and have spaces where it's not just freedom of speech. People can spout off whatever they want. This space might be dedicated for dialogue or learning or education. So it just depends the framework that we're putting around it, but very important things, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator AP.
So I have quite a few questions here, but first and foremost, I'm extremely frustrated for my peers that there was no content warning before this presentation. One, why are you using data from 9 years ago when we are taught here at this school that data over 2 years old is no longer classified as reliable? Two, when you go to that same website.
Senator AP, if you could break up the questions so we
I
can
will
answer.
go back and read them when we get but I'm reading this whole thing first. This is all important. When you go to the same website that you cited, the data no longer matches what you were citing. You have failed to mention at all that Islam is rated number 2 in popularity across the world, with unsecular at 3 and Hinduism at 4. This campus is already known for protecting the hateful creatures that come and harass and abuse students. This project is protecting the people that harass and humiliate LGBTQ+ people on campus. This presentation is extremely light and Christian-based, and to present it as a well-rounded one is to present incorrectly. I want to know how your task force is going to work to be actually inclusive, as this university tries to claim that it is, and will represent all faiths, not just white Christian ones, especially as areas focused so much on white Christianity are so prone to breeding white supremacy.
Could you parse those out real quickly again?
The first one is about data. Why are you using data from 9 years ago when we are taught here at this school that data over 2 years ago is no longer classified as reliable?
That's a good question. I feel like I kind of already addressed that, but the big studies coming out from the most credible institution for this, the Pew Research or Pew Research, excuse me, does that data in those big chunks every 5 to 7 years. So the trending ones that I just showed are the most up-to-date available as they relate to these demographics specifically with this issue. But you're absolutely right. There are more up to date from the US Census Bureau that measures these demographics.
The demographics that you're showing are Christianity and non-secular and other.
Yeah, there's typically how they're categorized when scholars are doing this work. But that's not to say that there aren't other resources. These are just considered the most credible in this field.
They don't sound very credible if they're not taking into account everyone. Answer the second one a little bit. The last question was, the campus is already known for protecting the hateful preachers that come and harass and abuse students. This project is protecting the people that harass and humiliate LGBTQ+ people on campus. This presentation is extremely right and Christian-based, and to present it as a well-rounded one is to present it correctly. I want to know how your task force is going to work to be actually inclusive, as this university likes to claim that it is, and will represent all faiths, not just white Christian ones, especially if areas focus so much on white Christianity are so prone to breeding white supremacy.
Thanks for that question. I can speak a little bit to gathering reflections from different demographics, diversity, specifically LGBTQ. In the survey that we're giving out, we are collecting that demographic information from folks that respond so that we can get an accurate reading from that. So folks who self-identify of different beliefs or different sexual orientations or genders, we can match those responses to their reactions. So that was our intention from the beginning, to make sure that we are gathering accurate data from those who are responding to this survey so that we can create something there.
Yeah, I think we've also heard that to say that the university is secular is not accurate because we have a Christian calendar that the semesters are based on, right? So yes, Christianity pervades this campus, and the idea with this initiative is to actually create more space for more dialogue, for more engagement beyond having that oppressive feeling. And so I appreciate your critique and your feedback that this presentation feels very Christian dominated. We need to pay attention to that.
Our campus feels very Christian.
Right, right. That is one of the main reasons we're trying to create a space to be able to have more room.
So there used to be,
Senator, I think your time is expired. Senator Upton.
So my question was like, how do you ensure that like all the religions are going to be represented? If it's going to be an office, is there going to be like a representative from every religion, or like how's it going to work? Because one worry that when I brought this up to people was just that it was going to be like an office for like the preachers on campus,
No.
which like lots of people are concerned that the place is going to be like very dominated by a certain religion.
We're sharing the same microphone. So the quick answer to that is that's not what we would want at all. If we would want a space where people could come and kind of twofold, explore and learn, but also not be proselytized at. But we're also looking to see what people want to create. We're hearing from examples of what you're just saying of what we don't want, and we share that sentiment too. We're looking for ways that we could create space that would be supportive of folks, especially of minoritized belief systems too. You're maybe speaking to a council type of idea where there's representatives from each one. That came up as one of the focuses, potentially having vetted representatives that people could talk to if they wanted to. But I don't have an answer to that because we haven't really created anything, but that definitely is a concern.
Yeah, and one of the thoughts is not having a office center space because of the challenges that you brought about, but instead having a program, initiative, a series to be able to focus on the breadth of identities around religion and spirituality.
Just to offer one more thought, again, using the plaza as an example of a free speech area, if we did have a center or a program, it wouldn't necessarily replicate that. It wouldn't just be a free-for-all. There would be guidelines and potentially facilitators and things like that. So it didn't turn into a steamrolling type of event. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and then just one more comment. So I feel like it would be better, just from the perspectives that I've heard, if there's just like a place, like not really like an SDPS office, kind of like we're talking about, where people can just go for funding to promote like learning about other religions and stuff like that, because it is a big concern for like events like Ramadan, for example, for funding and that kind of stuff.
Agree.
Thank you, Associate Kimberly.
Thank you. Excuse me. So I think that educating on different religions and going at that for this goal, and the main idea of this is really cool, in my opinion. So I guess my question is, in that education aspect, have you guys reached out to work with like any different churches or religious centers here in Fort Collins, or like different college religion organizations here on campus to help with that aspect in any way?
I could speak to that in a few different ways. Yes, in many ways, we're hoping that if this gets off the ground, it's definitely not a reinventing of the wheel, because we have so many great resources. We have them in the philosophy department. We have an interdisciplinary religious studies minor. Actually, that's in history, but it's shared by philosophy. So we have lots of scholars whose job it is to teach those things. I'm also a member of the Fort Collins Interfaith Council. That's an organization of about 30 different faith communities that gather together on a monthly basis and might be a rich resource. We talked about this as a rising focus of folks being vetted very carefully if we're talking about educating, representing, things like that. So it wouldn't just be one person speaking for a whole belief system. But we're hoping that, yeah, we could get a rich diversity of the resources that we have around us within the community, folks that are here, and it is their scholarship as well, to be part of that education, and also to work with the student faith-based groups, right? So folks could, as you mentioned before, we could share resources to promote the best types of programs and really get the best information about different belief systems too. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Just a real quick point of personal privilege, please use gender inclusive language. There was a you guys involved in that last little bit, so
Thank you.
something just to please keep in mind on.
My apologies.
Chair Schubert.
Hi. I know that Christianity has been very detrimental to some of our communities on campus, such as the Indigenous community. And I would like to know how this Christian-based platform is going to create a safe and continual space for our Indigenous community. And I also want to know, how do you expect the Indigenous population to respond positively and feel like they are a part of this and that their voices are heard?
What's the Christian-based platform that you are referring
This
to?
presentation.
Oh, well, that's not our intention, that it wouldn't be a Christian-based platform.
It feels that way, and a lot of the language has been focused towards Christianity, and that is the main religious platform, when there are a lot more religious platforms other than Christianity, such as Muslim, such as Hinduism. And the baseline, or the main question that I have, is how are we going to create a safe and continual safe space for our Indigenous community when throughout the years, throughout history, throughout time, Christianity has influenced and destroyed our Indigenous community?
Absolutely. Yeah. That is, I mean, thank you for that, right? That is a big part of what we need to be paying attention to. I can't promise anything. I won't, because that would be speaking falsely. What I can say is working collaboratively with our colleagues across the country, here on campus, including and engaging with our new Vice President for Indigenous Affairs, working with NAC, working with the Office of Inclusive Excellence. Our intention is really to bring this back to how are we having conversations with students about meaning and purpose? And meaning and purpose can be found in lots of different ways. And so how do we engage with students across difference around meaning and purpose and belief? And that's what this intention is. That's what this initiative is about. And we appreciate your feedback and your critique.
I understand that, but collaboration only goes so far until the pushing of your ideals and others' ideals come to impede other people's religion and other people's culture. And so I know that the space that you want to create is for teaching and for informing, but for a lot of our histories.
Mr. Speaker, I have a point of order. I believe this is argumentative. This is a time for a Q&A.
I had 2 questions and only one of them was answered.
If you want to go and re-ask that question, you're more than able to. We have 3 minutes left.
Okay. So my second question was, how does the secular, spiritual, and religious diversity expect the indigenous population to feel comfortable and to respond positively towards this proposal?
Yeah, I've engagement, collaboration, asking, checking in, and keeping that framework around educating around power and privilege, as we mentioned.
Okay, yes, Mr. Speaker,
Okay, so for those of you who are new, what that means is just everyone who has previously raised their flagger to be on the speakers list will get on the speakers list. And then after that, we'll stop questioning. Did you raise your flag because you want to be on the speakers list? No? Okay. So there was a second, right?
Second.
Senator Morgan, you had something?
I just added speakers list.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so all those in favor of exhausting the speakers list say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Hey.
Abstentions?
Thanks, Andy.
Okay, the ayes have it. Associate Barbone, you are next.
Hi, hello. I want to ask is, so if I'm looking at your little councils, do you guys actually work with people from different religions or that identify spiritual or your minoritized, what's it called? Religions?
Belief systems.
Belief
Yeah,
systems.
there's a lot of words.
I kind of wish that I seen a little bit more diversity, because since you guys are really, really promoting about the spiritual and secular religious diversity at CSU, and I know there's already a lot of, I believe there's a temple on Lake Street. Are you guys in contact with them? A mosque, my bad, sorry. I was just wanting to know, do you guys also work with them, or where's the diversity?
So you said on the council,
You all, I'm sorry.
Just the 2 of us?
I'm not sure, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand your question. The diversity of the people on the task force, this idea, okay. And
Yes.
are you asking for belief diversity of folks on the task force?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if can I divulge that?
Yeah, there is, yes.
I can speak to mine. Jody can speak to theirs, and I can speak to Vivian's because she would share that. So we have I'm just going to say these things, I guess. We have a Jewish identified person. We have a Buddhist identified person. I identify as humanist and Unitarian Universalist.
I identify as Jewish and Unitarian and humanist.
I can't speak for John Henderson or Raya personally.
Order. I'm just gonna clarify that question. I don't even know who asked it. But we don't ask like, please just display your identity. That's not what the question was.
But we,
That's-
yeah,
that's
right,
what she was
she was asking, do we have diversity of thought and belief? Yes, and we, with only 5 people on the task force, we can't represent all faiths and belief systems and non-beliefs. And the work that we're doing is engaging with communities with different belief, whether it's Wiccan, whether it's agnostic, Buddhist, secular. Yeah, I mean, yes, we need to be able to hear and listen perspectives from all walks of.
And also we are in conversation with student faith groups and their leaders, as well as in Fort Collins in general. I apologize if I misinterpreted your question.
Oh, it's fine. So I was just asking if you guys are willing to work with more diverse culture. Well, bring in more diverse culture.
Very much so.
Because what I got from this presentation was more leaning towards Christianity, and I wasn't sure if that was what you guys were trying to point it to us.
No, we were just, the centering on Christianity was a centering of framework of power and privilege of the demographics that we have, and pointing out the history that has come along with that, that's obviously been traumatic. Our goal is to expand this to be as diverse in beliefs as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You're my time.
Thank you, Senator Levy.
I'm Megan. I use they them pronouns. I just have a couple questions for you guys. I feel like I haven't like felt like a lot of like adequate adequate answers, I guess. I love your intention. Like I love where y'all are coming from this. But like many people have shared, your stats were very much white Christian based. So it's hard for me to project what this is going to be like in the future. Especially also with our history, there was an interfaith kind of group on campus that went really poorly, and it ended up being a space for basically neo-Nazi people to hang out. And that I think is something that I'm super concerned about. So, and you said that you can't promise like Indigenous allyship. Like, I think I need that promise. I think I need like the promise that like you're going to have that allyship within something that is going to hold spiritual, secular, and other religious diversity. I need that promise. And you said that you couldn't give that. So my questions are, who's going to oversee these conversations? How are you going to keep them from boiling into hate speech, from being dangerous places where there might need to be like people who are intervening? What are going to be these repercussions? Because at the moment we're having issues on campus with people pretending like hate speech is free speech. And I feel like this space is just going to turn into one big angry hate speech bubble, which sucks. And I know that the point of this that you're trying to create is to stop that and to create connection and community. I don't know. I would like to know what your plan is for this, where you're getting the funding for these people, and how these people are going to be diversity, equity, and inclusion trained. How they're going to be trained with dealing with huge moments like this that can be devastating and traumatic for people. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. I want to go back. I didn't not promise allyship. I didn't promise that people would feel safe. I can't promise that.
But I need that. We need that as students. Because like this is our space where we already have people tell me to go to hell while I walk to class. I already deal with that. I already deal with there's free speech on campus. We already have that, which seems like that this is what it's going to be. I need a space where I feel safe and I can have these conversations with someone of different faiths. I can't just have one person in the room feeling safe. If one person in the room is feeling safe and nobody else is feeling safe, you're not meeting the goal that you're trying to accomplish. And we need that promise. We need the promise that everyone in that room is going to feel safe having those conversations.
That's a big ask. What I can promise is that the work will be focused on creating that space that is safe for people to explore and learn and dialogue. I can't promise safety. No one can promise safety for another person. We can promise and dedicate our lives to create places that will be safe, but the end result, I don't have control over the end result. I have control of myself and the work that I'm doing to try to create a place where people can feel like they can come and be their whole selves and be affirmed and welcomed, and they can learn about other people. So I am going to fall short in what you're asking.
Can I have a thought? So Megan, just as a comparison, what happens in the plaza has a lot of different names to it: free speech, hate speech, harm, resources, things like that. First of all, the things that have inadequate answers, I can speak to because we haven't created them. We're in a brainstorming phase. So we're really looking for input on, if we do move forward with something like this, what would you all want to create? So happy to receive that information in whatever way, but also to create programs that are set up with guidelines of, this isn't a free-for-all. This is to talk about, let's talk about how the intersection of equality and religious values comes together. What does that look like for you? What does that look like for me? And to have facilitators or a panel discussion that feels and looks and is set up and maintained very differently than what goes on out there. That's the intention. And that's just one intention, right? There might be also celebrations of different beliefs as well, but it's meant to be very different than a free-for-all. Does that make sense?
Point of information, Mr. Speaker. I would like to know, if you are willing to bring in this space and not ensure safety, why would you even bring this into a campus that cannot ensure safety on our populations as it is now?
The senator is not recognized.
I yield to that person.
Senator Levy, your time has expired. The next on the speakers list is Senator Menonci.
Hello, hi, yes. So over the course of this discussion, you have talked about guidelines and whatnot, and I know you said yourself that you cannot promise safety, but I do wonder, what would your guidelines actually look like, if you have any idea of what that might be? Because those guidelines that you are so discussing would be about how we discuss interfaith religion and how to keep it civil. And also, my secondary question is, how do you actually enforce those guidelines that you come up with?
So I have the privilege of working with an organization that maybe some of you are familiar with, the Center for Public Deliberation in the Communication Studies department, that might offer one inroad into facilitated dialogue and conversation where students gain credit and experience being trained facilitators. The city actually hires them out to help navigate tricky conversations among the public. So that might be one venue. We have the SEED program, or intergroup dialogue, that offers another one. And that's just one element. That's just one deliberation or dialogue. We could also, I had a really cool experience of talking to some other universities that do these programs very successfully. And they talk about one that's just over a shared meal and has a few trained facilitators and folks that just gather for food and pick a topic to explore that really kind of centers around, or is centered under that idea of spirituality, different conversation topics where people just share their personal belief and experience in their speaking for their own experience in their own lives. And it's meant to be a very conversion-free type of atmosphere where people can just speak freely, but there also are set up as intentions where it's not just a freedom of speech type of thing. It's more of a dialogue or sharing. And again, that's just one potential program amongst others that might be celebrations, panel discussions. What we have a lot of is debate set up around winners and losers, right? This is something that wants to try to get to a very different framework where people can show up with their whole selves and have genuine conversations. I hope that answered at least part of your question.
I give my time, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Schmidt.
Hi, my only question for you is that you mentioned classes. What kind of classes are you planning to establish on campuses?
I'm not sure how much this would be tied to a direct curriculum, but I think partnerships with folks whose scholarship and work is in different belief systems and religions would be great partnerships. For example, I had a conversation with the chair of the philosophy department who was talking about how this might be a collaboration where people whose life work is about meditation, prayer, reflection, history of religion, to be able to forefront or spotlight that as being part of a program. I'm not sure that classes per se would be created around this, but they could definitely be connected to, and if students were interested in learning more, that connection could be made.
I want to talk about the psychology.
Oh, yeah.
center.
I have a great colleague, or many great colleagues over in psychology who are part of a center called the Center for Meaning and Purpose, who also say this is a lot of the questions and conversation that they delve in, so potential partnership over there as well. Positive psychology, meaning and purpose.
Thank you for your time. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Morgan.
So you've mentioned kind of collaborating with SDPS offices. But in what way, like specific ways, have you reached out to them?
Oh, yeah, actually, Raya B. Hill is from the Office of Inclusive Excellence. So she has been engaging with the leadership of OIE. And then actually tomorrow we have a conversation with Bridget Johnson, who is currently overseeing the SDPS offices. I've engaged with Ty in casual conversations from NAC. So it's just beginning. Again, responding back, I think, to Megan's question, where is this money coming from? We don't have money because we're still exploring what this idea would be like. And so that's why we wanted to come to you. And so we have many plans, yeah.
Okay, and what are some other ways that you're going to receive student input other than a survey? Because, you know, honestly, a lot of students don't take the time to fill out the surveys, and something like this initiative, you want to have as many voices as you want to have. So first one.
Yeah, we've been doing listening sessions and these kinds of conversations with a number of different student groups. We presented at the SHAPE conference 2 weekends ago. You're going to be meeting with student athletes. We've met with the Cabinet of Student Leaders from the Vice President for Student Affairs Office.
The grad councils. We want to hear from anybody that will let us have a conversation. So let this be an invitation to, if anybody wants to have further conversations or there's other groups that might want to give feedback. Our goal is to get as much feedback as possible. This survey, you're absolutely right. We're so surveyed out, but it is one of the ways that we have to do, you know, kind of due diligence. It also allows anonymous feedback, which is what we're looking for too, so people can give their real thoughts.
Okay, and what are some systemic ways that you're going to try to have inclusion at CSU? Because creating a safe space is fine, but how is that actually going to change anything?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing such polarization and such hatred and bias, and we're not inviting people to be in dialogue. And the idea is systemically creating the opportunities for dialogue across difference and be able to educate people so people aren't writing narratives based on only reading the few things that they read or only believing the things that they've been taught, but being able to be exposed to new and different ideas. And so right now it's to chance because there isn't an intentional effort to create that space and that opportunity for students to learn and grow and to dialogue with one another across difference, particularly this kind of difference.
I'll share a brief example that I think is kind of just a very small microcosm of what might be a cool thing. I teach a class called Multi-Faith and Belief Engagement. And they're first year students involved in the key communities. And I have about 13 different belief systems that I offer that they can choose. They choose 9 of them. They're anywhere from humanism to Islam to Buddhism. And then we learn about them. We invite guests who identify in those ways from the community in for open Q&A sessions. We go to their houses of worship or sacred places, and then we participate in what they lead us in their prayer, reflection, worship, whatever it is. And we continue those relationships. And oftentimes we do service together as well. And I really find, and students report, that those are really transformative experiences. And I know that's just one example of 30 students, but potentially that would be a good place to start, is education, relationships, dialogue, field trips. Who doesn't love field trips, right? Those experiences where it's really human to human contact can be very transformative. So that's just one vision that I bring to this.
I'm Darla.
30 seconds.
Okay, never mind, and I yield.
Thank you. Senator Lowe.
So I just wanted to give a little bit of feedback on this presentation. I know I am one of many members of the LGBTQ+ community in the room. I also know that there are a lot of other communities in the room, like Indigenous folks, who have been deeply impacted by the harm Christianity has caused in our lives and our communities. And I wanted to give feedback that this presentation was absolutely not trauma-informed, that many of us are feeling a lot of emotional distress because we have really painful memories coming up for us right now, and how Christian dominated this presentation was incredibly distressing for many of us. And I just wanted to give that feedback that this is already causing pain and harm in the community. So thank you, I yield.
Thank you for that feedback. I'm sorry for that harm it's caused.
Secondary speakers list, we have Sharon Oslo.
Hi again. So I know in America, there's a large amount of religious diversity, that is true. On this campus, there's a smaller amount of religious diversity, also true. However, on this campus, there's also great propensity for harm to religious minorities as classified by the campus wide. I am Muslim, it wasn't obvious in my questioning, but I grew up in an area where it was not safe for me to wear hijab, and I came to this campus and it was not safe for me to wear hijab. I did not feel safe enough wearing hijab. Entering this campus, entering the space that you were trying to form or create, when you cannot guarantee someone's safety, I do not believe it is a great idea to start until you can find a method to start enabling people's safety. Because this can open large amounts of groups of people to harm. This can create spaces that can boost hate speech, that can boost hate crimes, that can boost hate bias-related incidents on our campus, which we already have an extreme amount of. Secondly, you spoke very briefly on having dialogues or classes with staff members and faculty members who have studied in the religion. I would like to say that, specifically coming from Islam, my religion has been told to be harmful. It has been taught to people in America widely that we are a harmful, cruel religion. That is not the case. It is very much not the case. But it is widely taught to the American public that we are terrorists, that Muslims are terrorists. That is not the case. So when you are enabling professors who have studied religious history, yes, who are not members of that religion, you can further that dialogue that is hateful, that is harmful to people. How will you mitigate that in your best way possible if there aren't enough people who have studied religion and are that member of religion?
I think, thank you. I mean, that's the idea of working and vetting and collaborating with communities to be able to find people who can educate in an accurate, appropriate, non-harmful way. It's building those relationships across communities. So
I know that before I teach anything about a belief, I vet that information with people who identify that way, and several of them. So there isn't just one person speaking for that. That's very important. in my work, in my scholarship, in my teaching in particular. But thank you for that feedback. I think that's very important due diligence to happen.
Also, real quickly, how will you guarantee that this will be a place that does not get speech that is conversion, with the intent to convert people to various religions? Because so far on this campus, we've had a large amount of people who have come to try to shame people into their religions. How will you guarantee that that will not happen in the space you intend to create?
It would be obsolete. It would be interrupted.
Right. Again, what goes on out there is not what would be perpetuated in this space. It would be set up in a very different space. But yes, they would be absolute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
And that exhausts the speakers list. So thank you, ladies, for coming in and presenting. I know it's not easy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, everyone.
Thank you for your time.
Senator Hill.
Mr. Speaker, after this, I would like to motion a 5-minute recess.
Can we amend that to 10 minutes?
Second.
All right, amend that, yeah, I will amend it to 10 minutes.
Okay, all those in favor of a 10-minute recess? say
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, to be back here at 8:10. It's just, I have a hard time doing math, so.
Okay. Horrendous. It was horrendous. It was the single
Well. I was gonna suggest to see if they could give that funding for the library.
I couldn't.
I mean, I think they have it's like, for example, it's space, but it's kind of just an open dialogue space where one at a time folks can go and discuss their yeah.
Sorry, that's where my brain went. No,
I think it's a good idea. It's not a direct.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna be the like I didn't hear for a long time like things like that, but that's
Right. And they win.
We're just trying to foster this space where like students can talk about religion. But no one is talking about number one, the damages that were done to the and then number two, the damages that were done to the people who were brought here to the also recognizing that myself and many other Africans had their religion and this practice stripped away from them. Not to mention that y'all came here, y'all stole indigenous land, and then barred them from practicing their own religion. But somehow Christians
You never wear a suit, so why would I give you that tip?
They brought up Christianity,
So she had spoken already. She raised her flag, which is typical. But what she did there, she was seeking personal privilege to try to ask another question. And so if she wanted to, she could have raised her flag, but she put on the secondary speaker list. Like it puts me in a tough position because I don't want to stop anyone from talking, but also procedurally.
So just getting the option to be like, hey, this is gonna be happening in the next 20 minutes. For those of you who have religious trauma,
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think that's another benefit of sending out materials 48 hours in advance, because if there are problems, you know, senators can communicate and say like, hey, you might not want to be here for this because this is potentially going to be harmful. So that's the email. Huh?
I said, don't we have to be here?
Yeah.
No, well, if you need to excuse yourself or something like that, that's fine. Like for a guest presentation, as long as there's a photo.
Yeah, I really like it, and I got it.
Those are my guys. Also, my bad about earlier. I promise.
I don't.
I was like, dang, let me rectify that before.
No, you're good.
Mother Nature.
Yeah.
But luckily, you don't have to.
Hate when that happens.
I had it now.
I would hope so.
I'm making 1 week out of the month, a whole week, couple hours, seconds.
Maybe, yeah.
1 week. Hey, that was supposed to be exciting.
Came out. Came out.
Just all this shit. That's all they put. I'm just gonna take my time and go to sleep.
We're in bed.
If I can't sleep, I'm about to wake everybody who be sleeping with the backup. Leave me alone.
You know the woman.
But
Marjorie came.
oh yeah.
Oh. Good. That's what I assumed.
Maybe we like that. Maybe that's what we write. No, they're fine. Do you want help with that? Making legislation that lets you comment reviews every single presentation before it happens. It's past 8:30. Put that together.
It's
always there. You're not able to say comment. You wouldn't have to do it.
They just have to.
No, yeah. The main argument would be like, oh, we'll send out the newsletter.
I hate
that.
Yeah, but
That was. What did I do? So, so a couple of days ago, we had an interview. We could all. No,
Was it already what I know about?
No.
I already know about it.
Maybe.
Okay, we're gonna write that before the paper. Rob, was it climate change? That
wasn't me.
Rob has worse takes.
He's a real
Newsletter.
They do.
Yeah.
Nobody really has.
Robert's during the pause.
We have the slides, yeah, but we don't have
That's what my office is the place for this.
And that's where like issues.
Yeah, no one goes into this.
Okay. Here's what you need to focus on.
This is safe.
Versus
Like, if y'all don't do that, I think we'll just go at it. Is a vetting process to make sure that the information that's being presented is accurate. Yeah, accurate because of that. But we're trying to say like, oh, we want to vet.
Okay.
Because it might cause dicey conversation to end up setting you back later on in the future. So, like I said, if you're really cool, that's the angle that I provide. But at the same time, you're wrong.
I will try my darndest.
Not you playing Minecraft. I said not you playing Minecraft. That was. You should, oh, yeah, that's the problem. Go ahead and talk.
Oh no, I saw it. I just watched the video, but I definitely saw it. I was like,
I saw the video. I didn't.
I saw the image.
the video. is like,
Yeah, I know. Biggest in the world. I love it. Nick, how much time do we have?
2 minutes.
I love that fight.
So I've heard a lot
Take all the notes and
I feel like we should have sent it. Oh, send it. I want to use my email, put my email, put my name on it.
So that way you have a pledge. I don't think we.
See, I can.
Yeah.
I would have lived just for.
Yeah.
Leg surgery. Well, you know, as long as there's messages not coming from you. I support.
Like, if you're not, like, if you're
You gotta factor in.
Welcome to the club. You know, it just takes some people a little longer to be canceled.
A lot of people want to leave, and I know that you said, huh? I know you said people from if they want to leave, for like a long. Yeah, that way I can. But a lot of. Okay, so I kind of want to move to, like, just do.
What about labor? What about labor?
For your bill. Oh, for everything too, because I could send them,
Well, the link has already been shared, but yeah.
That's fine. And I mean, it's 8:10 right now. I think we could feasibly get that done in less than 20 minutes. Maybe we could adjourn.
Yeah, and also was requiring those people don't have.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to start.
Okay, just wanted to get your input on that, but thank you.
Yeah. A lot of.
I guess we could just continue with business like normal, unless someone calls for forum, but I don't think that's gonna work.
Right. So like, I don't think it's voting on
I mean,
I'm gonna say that. But the rest is, Yeah, there's so many people
Well, I could also. Yeah, you would have to present it.
Yeah. Your mom. Church. I mean, if we could make it past you really said it.
A lot of people would want
Okay. Yeah, no, I did. But thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it.
And certainly just.
Okay. That would like what you would come to say next.
Yeah, that's semi-formal or.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, it should have ended like 3 minutes ago. Ariadne. So
The hat is not out there. This way,
are you such
I can't refuse. No, and I want you to remember that. Yeah, I got one of them.
Same, I had it.
Yeah.
Every single wheel. That's all I gotta have.
If everyone could get back to their seats, please. The two items of new business. That's what we're doing. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to table the piece of old business that was added that's going to be tabled for next session. And we're just going to read the two pieces of new business in abstract. We won't necessarily present them. And then I'll send them to committee and we'll adjourn. Does that make sense? Okay. One is the voting rights, which okay, so now we are moving into our executive reports.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so my name is Hayden. If you don't know me, my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I am the chief of staff here at ASCSU. Currently, we have quite a bit going on. One of my favorite things about our meeting today is everyone shared one of the best pieces of advice that they've ever gotten. And I learned a lot of wonderful little gems. We're also working on a social event. It might be pretty expensive, so we'll see what that's going to look like. But I'm looking into seeing if it could be a whole ASCSU thing or if it's just going to be a exec thing. After that, I've been doing a lot of one-on-ones lately, and getting everyone together is kind of like pulling teeth sometimes, as I'm sure you all know, but not a ton of updates other than that. Am I forgetting anything? Okay, all right, I will pass it off to Rob or Al, or who wants to go? I'll hold the microphone.
So I'm going to try and get through this first part of my report, and then I have a little message to say. So this past week, we had mental health tabling. I would like to shout out Kevin Melchoir and the ALDS office for helping with that. It went really well. We had a ton of food and a really good turnout. And we talked specifically with students about resources for adult and veteran learners on campus. I hope to pair with the WGAC via Ava McCall for the next month. And it should be the first Tuesday of every month. That is the plan. There's also going to be free pregnancy tests on campus in thanks to myself and Ava McCall again. We're going to start promoting these next week. We're going to have some sorority outreach in addition to having these available in the ASCSU office, WGAC, Pride Resource Center, and the food pantry, hopefully at all times, at least for the rest of this year. Also, Grace Kringle, the director of marketing, and myself are helping to kind of organize the petition and the protests in response to the Board of Governors wanting to increase tuition by 4 to 5% for all students on campus. If you are interested in helping this cause, our first meeting is going to be this Friday at 10 a.m. We're going to talk about like poster rollout, petitioning, and all of that. I would also like to talk about how I am extremely disappointed in the way I saw our guest speakers treated tonight. How do we expect people to come into this space and share their ideas about diversity and inclusion by directing such negative energy and tone towards those entities on campus? I heard talks of collaboration, but if I were those speakers, this is not the space I would want to come back to ever. The comments made tonight were argumentative and not constructive. There's a way to provide feedback that is constructive and helpful without making them feel unwelcome in our space. There were questions about their own diverse identities, and they felt obligated to share their identities in this space full of dozens of people. That makes me feel horrible for the way they were treated. I applaud people like Megan for the way they directed their questions in a way that was constructive and helped to bring them on the same page as where we are as a student body. Please take note. I would highly advise that all of you take a look at the way the events of tonight played out.
One question for us, sorry. Just one question. So if we're not able to attend the meeting on Friday, I have work, what can we do to still gain that information?
Yeah, so if you want to take a look on the CSU Instagram, we have a remind. So if you text, I think, at no more CSU to 810-810, it'll have you on our text chain.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm already on that. So, okay.
Perfect. We'll send out updates via there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, hello everyone. Not too many updates this week. I have a meeting with the National College Consortium this next week. It's a national coalition of student governments, so I'll be sort of like an introduction meeting, I guess. And then today I met with econ professors and WAC regarding the tuition increase, and we're looking to collaborate with them. I was there along with Speaker DeSalvo and Associate Justice Jennings. This past week, I chaired Pacific, or the Provost Student Faculty, Provost Student Fee Advisory Council. This past week, there was discussions there with student leaders, and also Rick Miranda was there, and there was, again, more discussions about tuition increases. Additionally, this past week, I was at Board of Governors and delivered the report. Let me know if you want to take a look at that. And I'm sure, as many of you know, the Board of Governors landed on a plan that will increase tuition by 4%, and for out-of-state, that'll be 5%, and a faculty salary increase of 5% as well. So I feel like, from what I can tell from students, there's just a lot of, I guess, disconnect between them and the Board of Governors. They just feel that the Board of Governors are very out of touch with the students' lives. So we'll possibly be looking at to see if a couple of them, or maybe all of them, would want to come in and seek input from the students. And then, similar to what Director Silverhart said, I tabled for the mental health tabling on Tuesday. Thank you to Director Silverhart, and then also Kevin, thank you as well. And yeah, that is my report. Thank you.
So do that, sorry.
Yeah.
So how much of the like total amount, if you know this, I don't know if you know this, of the total amount that tuition is being raised by, like of the however 23 million or say whatever the number is, how much of that is dedicated to faculty raises?
So
Like, out of the total budget, how much of a percentage is?
if you look at the budget, it's about the same. So with the faculty increase, it'll be about $22 million. And then with a 4% increase for in-state, 5% increase for out-of-state, that'll be about $24 million.
Okay, so basically this is our tuition increases basically going directly to just funding.
I mean, I'm sure some people would argue against that, but I would argue.
In a way, yeah, okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Reed Vega, and I'm doing Rams on Ice on the 13th and 14th of next week. There will be a sign-up poll sent out into the Slack channel. I'll need a few people to sign up for that because we have to have a representative there the entire time the event is operational for liability reasons. And so there will be 1 hour time slots to sign up. If you can't sign up for a full 1 hour time slot, do not sign up at all, please. You have to like come a little late or leave a little early for classes. Totally cool. That's not a problem. So please sign up when you see that in the Slack. Thanks.
Wait, I have a quick question for you.
I have a quick answer.
Okay, beautiful. Is there going to be an eyeball this year, and when is that roughly going to happen?
Yeah, that's going to be during Dead Week. I think we're looking at the beginning of Dead Week. I'm not sure if we have to talk with the location to get the exact date.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone. How's it going today?
It'll find you.
It'll find me eventually, right? So I have some good news about Travel Grant. We have fulfilled 8 requests so far, and there are 2 being processed, as well as 7 more that we have not voted on yet. We have awarded $10,640 to help improve and make travel more accessible for CSU students. And as of right now, if we are to fulfill all of the travel grant applicants, we will have $18,240 fulfilled, and that means we will have $1,760 remaining in our budget. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm David Wise, Deputy Director of Finance. So travel grant is looking great, and it's a great opportunity to improve accessibility for students who may not otherwise be able to afford travel to professional developmental opportunities. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Judicial reports.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amber Wright. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an associate justice on the Supreme Court. I wanted to let you know about an upcoming event next week that I have helped plan. So I am partnering with Be the Match and the Honors Community Service Club to host a tabling event in the LSC Plaza for Be the Match. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Be the Match is a national registry of potential blood stem cell or marrow donors. This serves to match people with blood cancers who need these donations. And 1 in 400 people on the registry will ultimately match with someone and can opt to go through with the donation process, all expenses covered. So the goal with this is to get students registered for the blood stem cell donation registry. So again, this will be on February 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the LSC Plaza. And Be the Match would like at least 4 volunteers at any given time to make it seem like an event and get people excited to come up to the table and register. So I sent out the Sign Up Genius link to the Slack earlier today, and that will also be in the ASCSU weekly newsletter. So if you're able to volunteer, I highly encourage you to do so. This is a great way to help our community and help people nationwide. Thank you.
So if y'all don't know me, my name is Marcus Zacharias. I'm the Chief Justice. I use the he series of pronouns here. Let's first off with the things that are important for the court. We have a coffee with the court next Friday from 1 to 3. Please show up. It's been a success all year. We've ran out of coffee and hot chocolate all year. I believe we're getting the most we've ever had for this event, so please show up. Other than that, the Supreme Court is starting a judicial branch Instagram page next week, so if y'all would please follow, I'd really appreciate that. We'll have a QR code and have the account ready for Senate next week. We'll be going to be posting legal information and conflict resolution skills in there, among other content ideas. Other than that, we also have the City Council Action Committee. We meet Fridays at 1 p.m. every Friday. This Friday specifically, the mayor's going to come into the office, so please stop by. They love to hear input from students, and honestly, this is the biggest city council that will be willing to overturn or repeal U+2 and go along with the former city zoning that went through. So it's important that we get out there and talk our minds to them so they keep that progress moving. Beyond that, we're going to be planning multiple voter registration events this semester and next semester to make sure that CSU students are actually registered to vote in Fort Collins. We have a lot of voting power, but we just don't utilize it to make sure that things that we care about in the city actually gets changed, like U+2. Beyond that, I do want to speak a little bit to how disappointed I am in the space tonight. We have to do a better job. We have to do a better job of making sure that this is not a hostile environment for individuals that do not represent us or do not come in with the same identities that we hold. I believe in calling people in and not calling people out. And we have to realize that the tone that we used tonight was inappropriate to these women that came up here to come talk to us about something that they hold dear to their space. I understand that there's trauma related to religion and how problematic that can be, but there's a way to provide critical and constructive criticism and feedback without disrespecting the women that came here out of their portion of their day for something that they believe in, that they thought would benefit all students, not just the identities they hold. I think it's incredibly disappointing that the line of questioning took them to the point where they thought they had disclosed their identity to get validation within this space. You do not have to hold a marginalized or minoritized identity to be valued at CSU. And I understand and fully see that marginalized identities are not taken as seriously, but that does not mean that we belittle those that do not represent us. With that, I give it to the speaker.
Thank you. We'll now move into confidence business, which will probably be the shortest confidence business we've ever had. We are tabling, the authors have chosen to table the Lex that was an old business, so we'll move on to Lex 5207, voting rights and chairship. Will the parliamentarian read that in abstract?
Abstract. This resolution aims to grant associate senators voting rights only in the instance that they hold a chair position in ASCSU.
So I will send this to Internal Affairs and DEI Affairs Committee. And then Bill 5213, additions to Bill 5122. The parliamentarian, please read that in abstract.
Abstract. This bill is a continuation of Bill 5222 with only additions from the Senate Directionary Fund.
Thank you. I will send this to DEI Affairs, Budgetary, and University Affairs. And with that, please have a safe week, and I will see you next Wednesday.
What if I had a report? Well, I have a report every week that I never.